Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the T4Geeks painting tips videos. So I thought I'd show you today how I go about magnetising my bases. Specifically, these are the Sarissa Precision laser cut MDF bases. And Sarissa sell these in a few different forms. You can just buy the trays on their own, or you can buy the trays with the MDF bases already with the trays as well, and that's what I've done for my wood elves. The reason I've done that is I quite like how, if you compare them to a normal Games Workshop base, they haven't got the chamfered edge that you find on a normal Games Workshop base. So you can see those ones from the side, they've got a slight angle on. These are straight. What that means is that when you slot them into the movement tray, there's no gaps in between the base and the movement tray, and they fit nice and snug into your tray. The way I've gone about magnetising these is to set a neodymium magnet into both the underneath of the base and into the tray itself, and I'm going to show you a really simple way of doing that. And sort of, as you can see, once you've done it, even with these old metal models, you can shake that about and nobody's going anywhere. And I'm also going to show you my carry case solution at the end of the video. So to get started, I've got a steel ruler. Standard sort of steel ruler and a pencil, and what I'm going to do is to make it really easy to find the center of all these holes. All I'm doing is drawing a cross diagonally, so corner to corner across all of the bases. Makes it really easy to find the center of all the bases for drilling. Now the nice thing about this is, because all of your bases then, and all of the slots underneath the bases are going to be drilled exactly in the centre, that means if you take your models off and mix up which ones go in which slot, it doesn't matter, all of your models will be able to be magnetised to the same slot. I'm doing this with a skirmish base, but exactly the same principle applies for any of the others. And you can also do a similar thing with the cavalry bases. If you draw like I've done, imagine these were cavalry bases next to each other. If you draw from the top corner of one base to the bottom corner of another base, you can still get the crosses, and you can actually put two magnets in each cavalry base, which works exactly the same way. So that now I've got all of my my bases drilled up, my bases marked up. What I do is I pop a big piece of polystyrene down. So this is just a spare piece of polystyrene that I've got from making some terrain. You can sort of see how thick it is. It's about 60mm thick, something like that. You could easily use a spare bit of wood, but the point is you're just making sure that you don't go drilling into your workstation. So what I've then got is a standard power drill. So I've borrowed this off Neil actually, because I don't own one myself. I went on eBay and I've picked up a 4mm drill bit. It's a wood drill bit, so it's got the point on the end, which makes it even easier because you can stick that straight into the cross that you've made, and it gives you a nice accurate hole. So look for the woodwork drill bits on eBay. Then I've been on another seller on eBay and found some 4x2 magnets. So you can see the magnets that I've purchased are exactly the same width as the drill bit. They're 4mm by 2mm magnets, and I found them to be really nice and strong, and they fit nicely into the Sarissa bases as well. The Sarissa bases are 3mm thick, so these don't fill the entire base, but they do go most of the way through. So that's nice. These were something like £5 for 100. But believe it or not, with this kind of basing, as you can imagine, and say you've got 8 models on your skirmish tray there, that's 16 magnets, because you've got one for each model in the bases and one for each model in the trays. Plus, I've also added 4 extra magnets in this case, but sometimes I do reduce that down to 2 in the bottom of the tray for magnetising it into the case as well. So that's 20 magnets for a unit of 8 men, which is, you know, it's a considerable number of magnets. So make sure you're ordering enough. Like I say, for a full army, I've used something like 200 to 300 magnets, which is only like 20 odd quid's worth of magnets. There we go. Once you've got your bases all marked up, you've got your drill right. It's a simple case of lining up your drill with the centre of your base. drilling down into the polystyrene, and get your fingers well out of the way when you pull the drill bit out. There we go. So if we take that base back out, what you can see is you've got the hole perfectly centered inside the slot as well. Now you can do the exact same thing with something that wasn't a skirmishing tray, and what it does is you just make sure that all of your holes are nice and central. So I'm going to finish this one off, and then I'll show you how to get your magnets in. Okay, so there we go. All of our holes drilled. Now what you can see is we'll knock all the bases out of my tray now. What you can see is you've actually got burrs where the drill's broken through the wood, and that's on the reverse side of the tray, and quite often on the reverse side of all the bases as well. So what I'm going to do is I've made myself a sanding block. Now you can just as easily use a bastard file, which is just a big coarse file, makes it nice and easy to rub the wood down, or just a piece of sandpaper. The nice thing about the sanding block is it's flat, so you can make sure that you're getting a nice flat thing. And all I've done to do this is actually just got a block of wood, or in this case 2 blocks of wood. I've PVA glued them together, and I've wrapped it in sandpaper, covered it in PVA glue, and then wrapped it in sandpaper. And when that's dry, it gives you a really nice flat sanding surface. So that's a nice, there you go, top tip, easy homemade tool there. All I'm going to do then is get our movement tray, rub it on your sanding block, give it a blow, and there we go. You've deburred all of your base, so it's nice and smooth there now. Right. For the ones on the other side, particularly if you're using these skirmish trays, it can be a bit more difficult. So you can get your bastard file and deburr each slot like that. Don't worry if you're pushing some of the wood into the material. Don't worry if you're pushing some of the wood into the hole. It's not too much of an issue. It can make it difficult to get your magnets in, but if you do, it just adds a bit more material in the hole. It gives something else for the super glue to adhere to later on. It makes your magnets even snugger of a fit, so we don't have any magnets falling out. You also need to go through and do the same thing on each of your bases. So I'm going to get that done now, and then I'll come back and show you how I go about drilling and putting the magnets in. Okay, so I've got all of my bases sanded off now. All those nasty burrs have gone away. Now what I'm going to use is just some nice thick super glue. This is the best stuff for it, really. I just picked this up. It's just cheap. It's from Poundland. Ideally, with the MDF, if the thicker the super glue you can get, the better, because it doesn't soak straight into the wood. I've just run out of my thick stuff. This is quite thin, but it will still do the job perfectly. So if you're going to be putting them all into the same carry case, I would recommend making sure that your magnets always go in the same poles on every unit and every model, to make sure that all your poles are aligned in your carry case. So I'm going to test it on this previous model. So let's if I can stop it from sticking to the flying stand. There we go. So I know which way I want to do. Another little top tip: I've got some magnets of a different size. What I tend to do is, so I don't forget which end of the magnet I'm supposed to be sticking into the trays for this particular section, I add the wrong size to the other end, so I don't get confused which end I'm using. So when you pop it down, you don't forget which end you're supposed to be using. It's obvious when you pick it back up. There you go, full of these, aren't I? Useless tips. Right. So simple case of soak your hole in some super glue. I tend to do a couple of holes at a time. Push your magnet in, and you should be able to see when the magnet goes in and is countersunk into the hole. Don't push it too far in like that. If that happens, you probably want to push it back out again with your nail through from the other side. So just push it in a little bit till it sticks, and then pull the rest of the magnets away. There we go. Right. Now obviously the magnet's sticking out, which is no good. What I do is use a spare base, and I press it hard into the hole to make sure the magnet's then flush against the hole. Now you don't want the magnet inside the hole, as in not flush to the top, because that causes you issues later on. You want the magnets to actually have some contact when they touch each other, and sometimes that means, if I show you the existing unit that I've done, sometimes that means your models rock a little tiny bit. Because it's actually the magnet that's making contact with each other and not the wood. You can maybe just see, if I get the camera angle just right, the magnets stick out a fraction of a millimetre, but what that does is that gives you the best possible join, and it gives you the strongest bond if the magnets are actually touching. If you sink the magnets too far into the wood so they're not touching, it will make your join much weaker. So there we go. So those are sunk in. If I just show you the other side, obviously you need to think that the base, you want the magnet to be the opposite way into the base. So you need to pop your string of magnets down and think, if the base is going down this way, the magnets need to go in this way. So when you start doing the bases, remember you need to swap your I don't know what to even call this, swap round which way you're using your magnets, and then again soak the base in some super glue, pop the magnet in. Again, you can use another base to push it flat, because obviously it's sticking out. Press those two together hard, and it rubs them flat. Rub any excess super glue off, and then it pops straight into that base. So I'm going to struggle to get that one out now. Clever John, but there you go. Gives you a nice solid join in there. I'm going to go and finish off the rest of the bases, and then I'll show you how the whole system works when it's actually put into a carry case. There we go. So all of the bases are now finished, and because all the holes are completely central in the bases and in the trays as well, it doesn't matter which order they go in. They'll all stick nice and snug into the holes, and the magnets will bond nicely no matter which order they go in. There we go. So now they're ready. I'm going to do a pinning video pretty soon, but all of my metal models, it doesn't matter whether you're using metal or plastics, you can pin them all to these MDF bases, and it gives you a really nice strong join to your bases. What I'm going to show you now is with the War Dancer unit, how it slots into the army case. So as you can see, this is the army case solution that I'm using. So it's simply a Wilko's plastic box. You can use a box from anywhere. What I did is I went on eBay, and you tend to get everything on eBay because it's fantastic. Quite often you can get stuff for free postage. I found a guy who was selling sheet steel. If you just do a Google search for sheet steel, you'll find people are searching it. The guy got his mobile number on the listing, and he said, you know, if you want any other specific sizes, give me a ring. I gave the guy a ring and asked him how much it would cost to get a sheet that was the perfect size to fit into the bottom of my my box. So I measured it up and took about 1 centimetre off each side to make sure it was going to fit when it arrived, because obviously I've got no way of making it any smaller once it gets here. Sent him the measurements off, and he said, yeah, I can do that for about 15 quid. So, including the postage, the steel sheet on the inside, it's 1mm steel sheet, so it's very solid. It's quite heavy, but it gives a really strong join to the magnets. So your models, I mean, I'll just demonstrate. If I shake the box around, my models aren't going anywhere whatsoever. What I've done is got some cheap double-sided sticky A4 sheet, and I've stuck those that steel sheet down onto the inside of my box using that double-sided adhesive. It doesn't need to be a strong join to the inside of the box, it just needs to stop the steel sheet from sliding from side to side because of the extra space that you've left. So then, simply, you've got all the magnets in your bases, in your trays. You've got a couple of extra magnets that I've put on the bottom, and I've made sure those magnets are going the same polarity to the rest of the magnets, so everything's going in the same direction, and it all combines to give yourself a really nice strong join. So you can see, I'm now trying to lift that up, it's a really nice strong join in the bottom of that case, and there's no way they're going anywhere even if you shake the box around. So yeah, that's the end of the video. Hopefully that was helpful for some people. Basically gives you a army case solution. The box itself cost me about 20 quid in total, and that's cheaper than a Kaiser Rushforth cardboard case, so you can't really argue with that. And you get your whole army in it. You know, you can even get the massive dragon in it. That dragon's 9 inches tall, so you can get some really big models in your case with no issues whatsoever. Yeah, like I say, hopefully that was helpful, and if you've got any questions, hit me up on Twitter. It's at John_Kurt_T4G, or you can email us tailor4geeks@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.